thanks for coming and,
Sure.
and chatting. So kind of how we've been starting it off with everyone is just telling us a little bit about yourself and why you're running for county assessor.
Okay.
Yeah. So you can just take
Me to start?
Yeah, you can just start.
Okay.
Yes.
So I have worked in the office for over 30 years.
Okay.
Started at entry-level position,
Mhm.
and then just kind of worked my way through a variety of positions, learning all the different parts of the office.
Okay.
I served for 12 years as chief deputy assessor,
Mhm.
and then when we have 3-4 year term limits, right?
Okay.
So when
Yeah.
Cindy Portman, my boss,
Yeah.
retired, I went ahead and ran for the assessor's
Awesome.
position. Yeah, so I've been serving for the past 7 years
Okay.
as assessor, and this will be my 3rd term that I'm running for now.
Nice.
It's been an extremely interesting, challenging job.
Yes.
I've enjoyed it.
Good.
I'm a numbers person and a people's person, and
Yeah.
so it provides for both opportunities there,
Mhm.
and still much more to do. So that's why I'd like to continue on.
Wonderful. So what, I really didn't know much about the assessor's office. So tell us a little bit about like what generally do you work on and what is kind of like your focus?
Sure. So the assessor's office, one of our primary functions is we value property for tax purposes,
Okay.
And the assessed value is used as a tool
Mhm.
to distribute the tax burden. So
Okay.
taxing districts, what you vote for and what the taxing district's budgets are the amounts to be collected. We're in a budget-based state for property tax, and then the assessed value determines what portion each property is responsible for paying. So that's one of the things that we do. I have about half my staff are appraisers.
Okay.
We value both commercial and residential property and business equipment. So personal property is considered business
okay.
equipment. And then the other areas that we're responsible for, we have the base parcel layer for the GIS.
Okay.
So it's the map. And then we change all the boundaries according to properties that are short platted or they have boundary line adjustments, and update those parcels. And then all the other departments across the county build on top of our layer.
Okay.
So you'll see our layer out
Yes.
on our website. Other areas that we're responsible for is for setting and calculating the levies.
Okay.
So that's a whole other division and another responsibility.
Yeah.
And then we administer the exemption programs. So
Okay.
there's the senior citizen property tax exemption, there's open space classification, a variety of nonprofit exemptions,
Yeah.
those kinds of things as well.
Okay.
So
A lot
many
of different
things.
things, really.
Yeah.
It seems kind of, I think we often think of, our property taxes and then sort of it ends there.
Mhm.
But it sounds like there's really more to what ends up coming into that.
There is, yeah, there are lots of parts, lots of moving parts.
Yeah.
And there's a whole cycle involved with that as well. So one of the things that we do is we value property as of January 1st.
Okay.
And that value, once it's established, is used for the following year's taxes. So that's kind of a part of the whole cycle and how all
Yeah.
the pieces come into play.
Okay, that's very interesting. And I saw on your website that you were a part of developing sort of like a tax calculator and a few other technological sort of tools. How has that sort of process been of seeing it? You've been with the assessor's office for a good amount of time, so you've probably seen that technology sort of
I have.
increase.
Yeah, so when I started working at the assessor's office, we were actually still hand drawing the maps on Mylars and coloring them.
Wow.
That kind of thing. Our field books were actually notebooks that appraisers would take out in the field with their wagons, and they would go actually make the hand-drawn changes on the records, and we would type them into the system. So, and we also only had one computer in our office with two people that knew how to use it.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, so over time, yes, it's certainly, we've developed a ton of different tools, and some of them you're currently using out on the website.
Yeah.
We are also in the midst of converting to a new shared software system with the Treasurer's Office for both appraisal and administration, and that will, again, develop some additional tools to be used. A lot of it's map-centric.
Yeah.
So it's helping us to be more efficient with our time, being able to gather the information more easily and then provide it to the public so they can view it as well.
Yeah, so one thing that I think is really interesting, kind of in a lot of things that I do, and just talking with a lot of different candidates is the language that we all use in our like professional settings, and then being able to like sort of decode it to sort of just a civilian or someone who might not fully understand. So what are ways that you sort of educate the community on things that are happening in the assessor's office in a way that people can really be able to, take in and understand.
Sure, a variety of tools again. On our website we provide as much information as we can, plus some key terms, and
Yes.
and what they mean, how you use them, how to use the actual tools are out there as well. But I do go out into the community and talk fairly often. I just recently was down at the Mill Creek YMCA, talked to senior citizens about how to apply for the property tax exemption and how all the pieces work together and how it would impact their actual tax bill in the end. We provided FAQ in every notice that we send out. So I also do press releases. So try to get all sorts of different ways to get the information out, but also try to have that interaction with people so I can answer their questions. So if I am using terms that aren't familiar with them, then I can explain them at the same time. And my staff do that all the time too.
Awesome. And so like if someone had a question, are they able to call into the office and get sort of like in my mind I think case management because I'm a social worker, but sort of that sort of hand holding maybe if they have a hard time with paperwork or forms?
Absolutely, especially with the senior citizen exemption. My customer service center, we have it staffed so people can come in and bring in their documents. They'll sit side by side with them and help them fill out the forms and explain the process, as well as anybody that has a question about their assessed value. I have appraisers there in the office that they can come down and talk to them, explain how the process works, talk about their concerns, that kind of thing as well. So all those resources are available. And then I always have someone available on the phone. So those phone calls, we do the email texting, all those kinds of things. When the value notices went out in June, actually I spent a great deal of time answering the emails personally. I think it's real important to hear what people's concerns are and making sure that we are taking everything into consideration when we place those values because it is impactful.
And it affects every single person. And I think I just sort of thought, someone who owns the property, it only affects them, but it really doesn't. It's a trickle effect kind of with renters or even leasing business space and how that might impact overhead and ability to stay open and things like that.
So the main focus, when it was first designed, property tax was first designed, it was based on assessed value because that was an indicator at that point in time, a long time ago, that you had the ability to support those public services. So they did the distribution of the cost, based on that piece, and that has carried through over time. So making sure that we're being fair about it, that it's being consistently applied, that there's standards that are being met, is everything that goes into this whole mix of process that we do.
And how do you feel about sort of fairness of tax values? Like, do you think that I have a specific one that I'm trying to think of? Basically, where did it go? How fair do you feel like the system is as far as like determining tax values?
Actually, I think we do a really good job on that. We do mass appraisal, and that's the standard process used because we have to value so many properties, and we value them annually. So there's over 300,000 parcels. It doesn't lend itself to do a fee type of appraisal, a one-off. So we're looking at how properties move through the market throughout the year, and we're focusing on that January 1st assessment date. But there's a lot of statistical standards that you meet, and you have to meet, and there's tools that help you to determine whether you're within the right proper ranges. So there's COD, which is coefficient of dispersion. There's PRD, price-related differential. So there's different tests that you can do with the data to make sure that you are taking all the different attributes into consideration and you're coming in with the proper range. So we actually provide all that information out on the website too. There's a mass appraisal report, and it talks about those terms, what those terms mean, what those particular tests are, and you can see how we rate within those tests.
That's awesome. I think of research in terms of social work, and we often do, obviously our statistical analysis. And so it's interesting to hear kind of how, I think when I remember being in high school, I'm like, why am I learning these things? Why am I in geometry class or algebra or whatever? And then we see these things come into real life. And
actually
how it is
use
important.
multiple regression.
So wonderful. Wonderful. And so what is, I guess, kind of like a key thing that the community doesn't generally understand about the assessor's office that you feel like would be really important for them to know?
Yeah, I think it's back to that we are a budget-based tax system versus a rate-based tax system. So a lot of people assume that if their assessed value is going to go up 30%, their taxes are going to go up 30%, and that's not how it works. What the way the property tax system works is that you establish the amount you're going to collect first, and that's based on what you voted in. And then what the taxing district's budgets, how much they can increase, and they're limited in how much they can increase each year. Once you know how much you're going to collect, then the assessed value helps you to determine a rate, and then you multiply that rate times your individual assessed value, and that spreads out who pays what portion of the amount to be collected. So if the amount to be collected stays the same, and the assessed value goes up, the rate has to go down so that you're still collecting the right amount, and vice versa, right? Where again, it's not a one-to-one, your value goes up, your taxes are going to go up. Your taxes go up because of what's voted on and because of the increases that the taxing district can collect in order to provide the additional services.
I see.
So that's the challenge, is helping people understand that piece.
Right, it's not just as simple as, like a one sort of calculation of, well, yours are increasing, and that's unfair, or that's sucks or whatever. Okay, so it seems pretty complex probably for the average person to really be able to understand and then want to engage or care on a deeper level, which I think is interesting when we think of election season and how to choose somebody who represents something that you believe in, because it is so much more complex than, well, I don't think this way or whatever.
Right. I think you have to have a certain knowledge base, and you need to have the training. So, so in the business, working through the business, been able to take a lot of courses through the International Association of Assessing Officers. So it's appraisal courses, they're Department of Revenue courses because they provide oversight. So there's all that appraisal, mass appraisal knowledge that's there, and I think it's important that you have experience in that.
Right.
In addition to that, it's the property tax law. So it's all the other pieces and how they play into getting that final tax bill in the end. So I think that someone new coming into this business, I think it's important that they spend time learning about how those pieces work.
Right.
Take the courses, and then get some experience in actual either appraisal or the administration part, and then they would have a better idea of how to apply that in the positions that they're going into.
Definitely. And what is staffing like for? I know that we all kind of in the business world are experiencing staffing challenges in one way or another. So how is it for you guys? Do you have adequate staffing? Is being an appraiser something that is sought after? Like, what does that look like?
So staffing, we could use some additional staffing, and I think most county government offices experience that, especially when changes in the law create additional workload to you. So I am asking for some additional staffing in this budget cycle because the amount that you can make and apply for senior citizen exemption has increased sizably. So I'm expecting for probably about 4,000 more people to be able to apply and qualify. So we need to process that and process that timely. So those are things that impact it. My staff is extremely efficient, and we've been able to keep actually our staffing level fairly low in comparison to other counties because we use technology.
Right.
We use the tools that are available to us, and we develop them along the way. They're my staff, they're very talented. And they are always looking for new, better ways of doing the work. And then I'm very supportive, and the prior assessors have been very supportive of implementing them. So I think that's how we get there. We do need some more people. I've asked for some more people. We do a great job with the staff that we have.
That's wonderful, and I think it also speaks to, your longevity within the office of sort of the culture there and that sense of probably family, I would imagine, and support and things like that.
We are a team. We are definitely a team. I've been very fortunate in the past month to receive actually acknowledgement of that. I received an Excellence in Leadership Award from Momentum Technologies, their Harris Corporation. And we talk about that. And it really is, it's up it's my staff, it's
Right.
it's the ability that everybody works towards solutions together, that all the cooperative ideas come with the best ideas,
Yes.
then we can implement them. So
Yeah, well, congratulations.
Thank you.
That's
Yeah.
wonderful. So, with your sort of background, primarily it sounds like in the assessor's office, what are ways that you sort of stay forward-thinking and open-minded and passionate about your work?
Yeah, I'm really excited about the GIS part of it. So I think being able to provide visuals helps you to do the analysis easier. It makes it easier for people to understand. So that
Right.
technology is just now ramping up. And actually with our new systems that we're importing, we're going to be able to go out onto the map, bring up characteristics on particular pieces of property, see where we are missing maybe points, update them on the map and import them back into the system. And that piece has not been in play yet. So that will be new for us, for Washington State, for what we do. And that gets me excited.
Yes,
I
for
really,
sure.
I really enjoy working on those pieces that provide not only efficiencies in the office, but more information to the public.
Right.
You know, we're an open book. We want to make sure that people are confident in what we're doing and that the data is out there for them if they want to see it, and we're happy to help them go and look at it and you know, and do that analysis. So yeah, that part keeps me
Good. And I think
excited.
it's interesting too when we get creative about how we're developing the information for different viewers. So having that ability to almost play with the data
Yep.
and read it, hear it, see it, you know, all those different ways means more people are going to understand the
Yes,
information. for
absolutely.
sure.
Yep.
Yeah. So what do you think, I guess, sort of sets you apart or makes you the right person to be voted for?
Well, I do have that background. You know, we've talked about my experience in the assessor's office, but it's not just been a single focus experience. I've done just about every type of position within that office. I also have experience outside of the office in that I'm on the Washington State Association of County Officials Board. So that's all the state auditors, treasurers, you know, sheriffs, and so on. And we work on legislation. So we look at what are areas that need to be fixed, and we work with legislators on how to do that. So I bring that experience as well. So it's not only in office; it's some that are outside of the actual physical office as well.
Yes.
So
that's
I don't know that there's probably another candidate out there that can bring that variety to the position. In addition, I like my job.
Yeah.
I
Sounds like
like what we do.
Yes, you enjoy it. You have a good team.
Yep.
You have a pretty darn good track record of being successful in that office, so that's wonderful. What are some ways, so specifically our viewers will be small business owners in the Stilly Valley area, so what are some ways sort of that the assessor's office impacts business owners specifically?
Good question. I mean, it is, again, back to that fair distribution of the tax burden, right?
Right.
With small business owners or with business owners, there is a requirement that they file a personal property affidavit. So we've been working, my commercial division and I have been working on getting some of that information out, making it easier for them to file their forms. We've got an e-file online right now, but with the new system, we'll have a new e-file system that is more step-by-step.
Okay.
Easier to put the information in, easier to keep track. So just trying to help them through a process that's a requirement of them to begin with, but also they have some control on making sure the information is correct.
Yes.
And they're not being valued for more than what they have. If they've sold off some of their equipment or they've purchased new equipment, they can be more accurate in that process. It is a self-reporting system, so it is kind of on the onus is on the property owner, but we try to do whatever we can to help with that
and
process.
sort of simplify the process, make it easier, more palatable, kind of.
Yep.
Yeah, that's wonderful. Awesome. And so, are you a Snohomish County native then? Have you been here for a while?
Well, I married my husband 34 years ago.
Okay.
So I actually married in May and started work in August.
Oh, okay.
So I have been in Snohomish County.
Oh my
So originally grew up in Anacortes.
Okay.
So in
not
Skagit
far.
County, I went to school over in Pullman.
Okay.
WSU. I have a teaching degree from WSU. But you know, met Rick. He's a firefighter, retired fireman. Was fire chief for many years.
Oh, wonderful.
And we have a small farm outside of Granite Falls.
Oh, nice.
And so now he farms, and I take the benefit of that, and I bring it into the office.
Oh my gosh, that's
and
so
share.
nice.
Yeah. So,
Wonderful. So
yeah.
you get to experience kind of all aspects of the county too, with more rural living probably, and then being able to come into the city and experience that too.
Yeah, Rick and I do a lot of volunteer work as well. We really are active in the community. We have one son, he's grown, has moved to Montana, but he was involved in sports, so we got involved with the schools. I've helped with the fire department's Christmas house, since 34 years ago, in doing that kind of work. But I really like to help women in the community, especially women that may have some challenges.
Right.
So I belong to organizations that help support women. So Sir Optimus International, Everett, I'm a member of the League of Women Voters, those kinds of things. So our downtime is also active community time. And we love the area that we live. Rick has lived there all his life. We live on a portion of the old family farm.
Oh, wow. Yeah. That's awesome.
So there's really strong ties to the family as a whole in the community.
Right. And I think that's something that, is really a very important piece of Arlington and the Stilly Valley is that very similar thing of, lots of family support and connection, and especially in our business community, we're really big advocates for each other and supporting each other. And so, I have loved getting to know our candidates and sort of what they're about, who they are, and that connection piece, because I think that's what makes all of this work and us, be able to understand, the importance of the assessor's office or,
well, you need
sheriff
to,
or whoever.
You need to be able to relate and be able to listen and understand what the concerns are and truly understand what the concerns are and the impacts are of what you do. So, that connectivity is important.
Right, it really is. Is there anything else kind of that you are hoping people know about you or your position?
I hope that people come with different ideas, to the positions. I hope that people do their research. When they're hearing about different ways of doing the work, new ways of doing things are great, but they still need to conform to what the law says, what the standards say. And so if there are claims out there, I hope that people can go out to the websites, do their research, and make some good, solid decisions based on good data. So that would be my plea.
Right.
Yeah.
That's wonderful, and I think it speaks to kind of why we're doing these interviews. Is that it's so common that we get our ballot information in the mail. Right. We sit down, maybe we look at it, maybe we don't. And we sort of, in our household, we have this process where we kind of go on and each person grabs one and then we sort of present on the person. So this is what my person said, and these are the things. And then we, fill out our ballots. But I like this idea of being able to sit down and share a cup of coffee and talk about things and get to know people on a truer level, because when you're faced with a decision, you're not going to think of all these other things first, or what would my opponent say, or what is the political, right? You're going to go to your knowledge, to your gut, to your experience, to your team, what the community has shared, and so that's who we are wanting to get to know with these interviews.
Sure.
So I appreciate your time.
Very welcome.
I think I've learned more about the assessor's office today than I ever thought I would, and I'm so glad, because it really does impact so much.
Appreciate the opportunity very much.
It's wonderful. Well, it's great to meet you.
You too.
Yeah.